Welcome back to Today Assets Report, the channel where we skip the noise and get straight to what actually matters. If you've been following the crypto space at all in 2026, you already know that one question keeps coming up over and over again, and honestly, it deserves a real answer. If XRP is being positioned as the foundation of a new global financial system, why is the price still sitting at around $2? Bitcoin is flirting with $100,000, and XRP looks like it's barely moving. And here's the question that really gets people thinking. If XRP is meant for central banks and massive financial institutions, why are regular people like you and me still able to buy it on a regular exchange? Today, we're answering all of that with logic, math, and what's quietly happening behind the scenes right now in 2026. No hype, no fantasy, just the real story. Here's the hard truth. Most retail investors are watching a screen that isn't showing them the real game. When you check the XRP price on Coinbase or Binance, you're seeing the surface. The actual action is happening somewhere you don't have access to. This is called shadow liquidity, and it's the most important concept to understand right now. Major financial institutions don't use public exchanges for large moves. They use OTC, over-the-counter desks, where billion-dollar deals happen privately, directly between two parties, never touching a public order book. If the Bank of Japan decided to acquire 5 billion XRP today, they wouldn't log into an exchange and start clicking buy. They'd crash the market before filling even 1% of that order. Instead, these institutions are quietly securing supply through XRP's escrow system, through private OTC arrangements, and through non-disclosure agreements signed directly with Ripple. The chart on your phone is quiet not because nothing is happening. It's quiet because the people moving real money don't want you to see them move it yet. Now let's talk about Bitcoin versus XRP because this comparison confuses a lot of people. Bitcoin sits near $100,000. XRP sits near $2. That looks like Bitcoin is winning by a mile, but when you look deeper, it tells a completely different story. Bitcoin's price is built on social belief. It's valuable because enough people agreed that it is. Its rise was amplified by billions in stablecoins like Tether, which critics argue are printed with minimal backing, essentially a digital version of the same fiat inflation Bitcoin is supposed to protect against. Bitcoin doesn't settle cross-border payments. It doesn't integrate into bank treasury systems. It doesn't bridge currency mismatches between global institutions. XRP was engineered from the ground up to solve a real, measurable problem, moving money across borders, across currencies, and across institutions quickly and cheaply. Its price hasn't exploded like Bitcoin's because it's not waiting for belief. It's waiting for full deployment. And those are two very different clocks. Let's get into the math because this is where the whole picture changes. One XRP can be divided into 1 million units called drops. That's a core design feature, not a footnote. If XRP reaches $10,000 and you need to move $1 billion internationally, you only need 100,000 tokens to do it. Compare that to XRP at $1, where you'd need 1 billion tokens to move that same amount. Moving a billion tokens creates massive market pressure, slippage, and volatility, the exact opposite of what a financial institution needs. But at $10,000 per token, you move far fewer tokens, the market barely reacts, and the transaction settles in seconds. Higher price equals lower slippage. Lower slippage equals institutional trust. More trust equals more adoption. This isn't speculation. It's a mathematical design requirement built directly into the architecture that Ripple's engineers created. Now let's look at the scale of global finance because the numbers are almost hard to believe. There will only ever be 100 billion XRP, fixed, forever. You cannot print more. But look at what that supply is supposed to serve. The global foreign exchange market moves $7.5 trillion every single day. The derivatives market sits at over $1.2 quadrillion. Cross-border payments are surging past $150 trillion annually. Even if XRP captures just 1% of global transaction flow, we're talking about trillions of dollars trying to move through a fixed supply of tokens. Factor in that a large portion of that supply is locked in escrow or held by institutions, and the effective circulating supply shrinks dramatically. When you run those numbers honestly, each token needing to represent tens of thousands of dollars in bridge value, isn't a fantasy. It's arithmetic. And arithmetic doesn't care about skepticism. To understand why this matters structurally, you need to know about the Nostro Vostro system. Right now, when a US bank sends money to a bank in Japan, it needs a pre-funded account sitting in Japan holding yen, just waiting to be used. Banks worldwide maintain thousands of these accounts across dozens of currencies and countries. The money sitting in those accounts isn't working. It's frozen, idle, doing nothing but waiting. Estimates suggest $10 to $30 trillion is trapped in this pre-funding system at any given moment. XRP was designed to replace that entirely. Instead of pre-funding accounts everywhere, a bank can use XRP as a real-time bridge. Dollars convert to XRP, travel across the ledger in 3 to 5 seconds, then convert to yen on the other side. No frozen capital, no waiting. That's a working product Ripple has been deploying with real financial partners for years. And at global scale, the demand it creates for XRP isn't driven by retail hype. It's driven by systemic necessity. Ripple hasn't just been building a token. They've been assembling a full institutional financial infrastructure stack. The acquisition of Hidden Road, the integration of prime brokerage and custody tools, treasury management partnerships now handling trillions in corporate volume. This is an enterprise technology company positioning itself as the infrastructure layer for institutional digital asset operations. When platforms are using XRP-backed liquidity to manage $12+ trillion in corporate transactions, the $2 price on a retail exchange becomes almost disconnected from reality. The institutions plugging into these systems aren't buying XRP because they think it'll moon. They're buying it because their systems require it to function. That is a fundamentally different and far more powerful demand driver than anything crypto has seen before. For years, regulatory uncertainty was one of the biggest anchors on XRP's potential. But in 2026, that landscape looks dramatically different. The Clarity Act represents what the industry has been waiting for: clear legal definitions for digital assets, including how they can be classified and used in commerce and finance. For XRP, that clarity means the difference between being treated as a restricted security and being recognized as a functional monetary instrument that institutions can legally use in settlement and treasury operations. Once that green light is fully lit, the institution sitting on the sidelines waiting for regulatory cover will have no reason to wait any longer. The NDAs keeping OTC accumulation hidden will begin expiring, and the market will gradually realize that a significant portion of circulating supply has already been quietly spoken for by entities that never announce their moves publicly. So back to the original question. Why are you still allowed to buy XRP? The answer is straightforward. The institutional accumulation phase isn't finished yet. You don't announce to the world that you're acquiring billions of dollars of an asset before you're done acquiring it. The accumulation happens quietly through OTC desks and private escrow arrangements while the retail market stays open, providing cover, providing price stability, providing the appearance of a normal market while something much larger is being assembled underneath. But that window doesn't stay open forever. If regulatory clarity lands, if institutional integrations go live at scale, the retail opportunity that exists today at $2 will look in hindsight like one of the most obvious setups in financial history. So here's the final word from today's Assets Report. Price is a distraction. Value is the reality. Bitcoin's price is built on collective belief and stablecoin-driven speculation. XRP's price, if this architecture plays out, will be built on mathematical necessity and global liquidity demand. One was built to be believed in, the other was built to be used. When the financial system fully transitions, when Nostro Vostro accounts are replaced, when regulatory clarity is complete, when institutional integrations go fully live, the retail window closes. Not because XRP failed, because it succeeded. The price will be too high and the supply too spoken for everyday investors to buy whole tokens. You'll be trading in drops. The question only you can answer is whether you understand what's being built here well enough to act before that moment arrives. That's the math. That's the game. And we'll be here on today's Assets Report to make sure you see every move clearly. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.